All right, the news of the day, Kyle Higashioka, he is no longer going to be a Padre in 2025. The Texas Rangers announced today they have signed Higgy to a 2-year contract with a mutual option for 2027. I have not seen the money reported anywhere. I checked on MLB trade rumors, didn't see it there. So maybe we'll get a number at some point, but that is not out. When I saw initially the report, I think it was from John Morosi, that the Rangers and Higgy, they were getting closer. They're making progress on a deal. That's when it was like, all right, he's not going to come back. But I saw that, and I assume that he's going to get at least $10 million a year in this deal with the Rangers. Coming off of that year that he had, just this free agent market and having a valuable veteran catcher. I mean, we've seen in the past some catchers, some veteran guys get solid 2-year deals. So, I mean, what did Christian Vasquez, because he's someone, right, that he's older than Higgy, but I wonder what he got in his last contract. I'm looking that up on the spot here. So hold on one second here. He got 3 years, 30 million from the Twins. Now, he brought more offensively if you go look at his history than Higgy did. And Higgy, it's not like he was a full-time starting catcher where Vasquez had more of a history from that. But I could see something like that because today's price isn't yesterday's price. It's higher usually. And Higgy, the moment is not too big for him, and that's a valuable guy to have. So I actually wouldn't be surprised. The $8 to $10 million range per year, and it seems like the Padres were not willing to do that. And I feel like they're going to have to go a similar route. Luis Camposano, as much as I want to trust him to be that starting catcher, and he's not getting paid a lot of money, and man, that would be awesome if he could have a great year because we know that he has the power. Can he stay healthy? Can he develop defensively? I think there's definitely still room to grow there. That would be great, right? Homegrown guy, that would be awesome. But he has not shown that. And if you're a Padres team that's trying to go knock off the Dodgers, go win the NL, go win the World Series, you got to have a better option than Luis Camposano. You got to have someone that has a history, I think, of playing in some big games, a veteran. I don't see them, bringing in some young guy. And I don't think it's very realistic or fair for us to ask whoever they bring in. I guess it depends on who it is. But we shouldn't expect that guy, whoever they bring in, to, go hit 17 home runs and hit some big homers in the postseason. It may be a veteran guy, someone that's more defensive minded. And now that's what we thought Higgy was, right? We weren't expecting this offensively. But someone that's more like Austin Nola, Austin Hedges. I'm not saying them specifically, obviously, but someone more like that than someone that's going to match. Now, there are some interesting free agent guys out there. I think Gary Sanchez is a free agent, although he's not coming up on spot track. But if the Padres go in the direction of veteran guy that has produced at the big league level, maybe not for a long period of time, but he's done it for a season, couple of seasons. There are guys out there, James McCann, who had some good years with the White Sox, and then he got that deal with the Mets, and since then it hasn't been amazing. What did he do this last season? What I also wanted to bring up while I look up James McCann's numbers is if the Padres sign someone and it's not someone that we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, which it's probably not. It's probably going to be like, oh, okay, well, solid. Let's go on to the flashier potential additions. If that happens, when that happens, hopefully us fans don't overreact to that or get all pissed off at that. Because remember, and I know it's the Juan Soto trade, and they got Michael King and Drew Thorpe, so that was the focus. But we were not expecting Kyle Higashioka to produce the way that he did, right? And I'm not saying that, like I just mentioned earlier, we probably shouldn't expect that from this guy coming in. But that guy coming in could end up having a better season than maybe what we think when they first acquire them. So I want to keep that frame of mind and have that optimism. we got to remember, at least according to Fangraphs, the last time I checked, the Padres are already projected to be over that first luxury tax number. So how are they going to get below that if they want to get below that? And if they want to get below that, then yeah, signing Higgy to a multi-year deal, let's say it is 8 to 10 mil a year, that was probably going to hurt them a little bit. With other, Profar is still out there. Are they going to sign him back? What is that contract going to look like? Shortstop situation, DH. There's different things here. Bullpen a little bit, right? Starting rotation, obviously. Sasaki could help that, would really help that. But because you'd be a cheap guy, but you know, it wasn't like all we need is to bring Higgy back and we're good. So I do understand if it got to a point where it was like, oh, the Rangers really want him to pair him with who they've got, Jonah Heim. That's a pretty darn solid catching combo, by the way. I understand if the price got too steep for the Padres and they were like, all right, we got to find our next Higgy for 2025. Or, well, yes, let's find your next Higgy, but also let's work with Campy and hopefully he can be healthy and have a much better season and have like that season that we have wanted from him. Hopefully that comes in 2025. But getting back to James McCann, so this past year, 8 home runs, 234 average, OPS plus below average, OPS below league average. So when I talk about the track record, he had that one All-Star season in 2019. So when I think of who could be the Padres' next Higgy, could it be someone like James McCann? I know Higgy was not like an All-Star before, but still, at least someone like myself that follows other teams in the league, I knew of Higgy and I knew that, yeah, this is a solid catcher and I like adding him. I know it sucked losing Soto in the moment, but I still remember thinking like Higgy might not be talked about a lot right now, but that's a solid addition. I wasn't expecting him to do what he did, but I was like, yeah, that's a solid addition. Higgy, if you go look back at his baseball reference page in prior years, those numbers don't stand out. And James McCann, at least he's had a year. I know that was 5 years ago, but at least he's had a year where it was like, okay, that's a pretty darn good season. He can hit you more than 10 home runs. He can drive you in some runs. And where this catcher's not going to be hitting third, like you can put him down there, bottom of the order. Is this going to be the year where they bring in Martin Maldonado? I've been thinking that for years. I know he was with Houston, and that seems like a fit, obviously there. But is this going to be the year there? Tucker Barnhart, that's more of the defensive guy. He has had some solid years in the big leagues. There's Kurt Casale, Luke Maile, Danny Jansen. That's another one that I think he's had 1 or 2 solid years with the Blue Jays. Elias Diaz, he was with the Padres. He would be cheap. I'm pretty darn sure he would be a cheap option. Would the Padres do that? We know he's solid defensively, much better than Campy, at least looking at numbers on Baseball Savant and all that. Could that be what the Padres want to do? Or do they want to do, hey, let's try Diaz again on a minor league deal, and then we have Campy, and then you bring in someone else? Maybe it depends on who is available. Do they want the catcher? Do they want to get him now? Do they want to add a catcher? You probably want to add him as soon as possible, if we're being honest, because that you probably want that catcher to start having conversations and catch guys at Petco that are in San Diego or come to. Remember, Joe Musgrove had like a pitcher's camp before last year at Petco. You probably want that and not have the catcher to come in, last minute. Yasmani Grandal's out there, but I'm good. So those are the guys at least that show up on Spot Track. But I'm intrigued a little bit by James McCann. He's not going to get 10 mil a year like his previous AAV was. Danny Jansen, Martin Maldonado, I'd be fine bringing in Elias Diaz. I think he's a solid option. It would be cheap. But maybe the Padres want a little bit better of a offensive option. But it's not like there's a lot here. And maybe there's some trade targets out there that I haven't gone over yet that could end up, being better than any of these free agent guys out there. But no doubt this is another kind of kick in the nuts for the Padres this offseason. Obviously, Snell, yes, that was that. Um, they're not going to bring back Tanner Scott. That's going to suck when he signs with the Dodgers or whoever he signs. I feel like it's going to be, Mets or Dodgers because he's going to get paid. And which teams have the money to spend? Dodgers seem to have, limitless amount of money to spend. There's, Higgy, he was an easy guy to, I tweeted this before I did this video, easy guy to love, came up with those big clutch, postseason homers. Obviously, the Padres didn't get as far as we wanted them to, but Higgy came up big in that wild card series. He had another homer, I believe, in the NLDS. He had some walk-offs. He was solid behind the plate, was able to stay healthy. I mean, where would the Padres have been without Higgy? Because of the year that we saw from Campy, and then he has injuries. They don't have Higgy. They're in deep trouble this past season. So it's going to be important for the Padres to find that next Higgy. Again, I don't know if we should expect that guy to perform as well as Higgy did. I guess it depends on who they bring in. But it's going to be important because Campy is not a guarantee. That's for sure. But wishing Higgy well. I'm glad it's with an AL team in the AL West. And it's not somewhere where he could come and, haunt us, at least in the regular season and at least through the NLCS.